Hello everyone, it's another episode of EveryRing, that's everything wrestling. As you can see, Danger Dan's not here because snow and we don't want anyone to be endangered. So we're going to start the show without him, unfortunately. But today I'll have Tobar, he's somewhere around here, and we'll have him help. Discussions, we have Impact, 2 titles may be relinquished. And also an Impact to end the story with a burial. We have a new induction to the Hall of Fame for the WWE. As we've been mentioning, now it's the road to WrestleMania. Again, I think this is going to be one of the biggest WrestleManias because of how they built up the storyline. So let's go to Raw. Are you ready, Tobar?
I am the mighty Tobor, and I'm helping these humans because a little snow has stopped their momentum. Here is Raw. Undisputed WWE Universal Champion Roman Reigns will be making his long-awaited return to the red brand in light of the reunion between Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn on this past Friday's episode of WWE SmackDown. Not only did Reigns' WrestleMania 39 opponent Cody Rhodes put Reigns and the rest of the bloodline on notice last week, he also had a hand in helping the former honorary use and prizefighter come together. Ahead of his United States Championship match with John Cena at the Sophie Stadium in Los Angeles, current title holder Austin Theory will collide with Montez Ford. Theory defeated Ford's tag team partner Angelo Dawkins during last week's show after a heated exchange of words, and cinched in the STF on Dawkins following the conclusion of the match as a message to Cena before Ford provided a hand to Dawkins. Logan Paul will be hosting a special edition of Impulsive TV, Live for the WWE Universe. Seth freakin' Rollins has taken issue with Paul over the past couple of months after Paul eliminated him from the 2023 Men's Royal Rumble and later cost him the United States Championship in the Men's Elimination Chamber bout. The two came face-to-face in a heated confrontation 2 weeks ago, which ultimately ended with Paul leveling Rollins with a right hand. Additionally, Rhodes, Rollins, Raw Women's Champion Bianca Belair, Bobby Lashley, and Damage Control leader Bayley are all advertised for tonight's show. The road to WrestleMania is paved in greatness. We hear from Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens. The crowd cheers for Zayn and Owens as Zayn says it feels really good for the two of them to be on the same page again. He tells Owens he approached asking him for backup as a business transaction rather than coming to him as his brother. Owens says he has always been Zayn's fan whether they were friends or enemies, and it was incredibly frustrating to see him under the control of Roman Reigns. He says Zayn was right in saying that it was time for them to take down the bloodline together. Zayn then says he thinks they both know what comes next as they look at the WrestleMania sign. The Usos' music hits before Jay and Jimmy appear. Jay calls Zayn a backstabber, then mocks Owens and says the two of them will backstab one another eventually. Zayn says it's funny that he's talking about backstabbing because everyone knows that Jay's biggest dream is to backstab Roman Reigns. Jimmy says Zayn was the one dreaming and staring at the WrestleMania sign, but nothing is going to happen. Owens says the two of them know what they're thinking, then challenges the Usos for their undisputed WWE Tag Team Championship at WrestleMania. Jimmy says him and Jay are the grandest tag team of them all, and they don't deserve a title shot. He brushes off their challenge, but Jay cuts him off and says this might be their one shot to put an end to the Owens and Zayn problem. He accepts their offer, and the two teams begin brawling with one another. Jay levels Owens, then helps Jimmy beat down Zayn. Owens tosses Jay into the timekeeper's area, then gets him in the ring and delivers a superkick. Zayn sets up for a helluva kick, but Jimmy pulls his brother out of the ring. The Usos each grab a chair, but officials stop them from using them. We then see Roman Reigns, Solo Sikoa, and Paul Heyman pulling up at the arena on the Titantron before the Usos retreat to the back. Austin Theory heads to the ring. The Street Profits follow. Austin Theory versus Montez Ford with Angelo Dawkins. The bell rings and the two lock up. They go back and forth with submission holds before Theory delivers a shoulder tackle and fires off several boots. Ford delivers several of his own, then delivers a lariat and clotheslines him over the top and to the outside. The two then
Very
spill
good
into
match.
the crowd. Back from the break, Theory and Ford teeter on the middle rope. Ford knocks Theory off, then delivers a high crossbody off the top. Ford hits a pair of clotheslines and an uppercut, then follows it up with a belly-to-back suplex and a moonsault. He hits a DDT, but Theory rolls to the outside and Ford goes flying over the top. He tosses Theory back inside and ascends to the top. He looks to go flying, but Theory rolls out of the way before hitting a dropkick and a town down for the win. Winner: Austin Theory. After the match, Theory grabs a mic and says Ford didn't believe in him but he now does. He then puts John Cena on notice and says he doesn't believe in him either but he will. Roman Reigns has a chat with Jey Uso. We then head backstage to the Bloodline in their dressing room. Reigns tells the Usos that it looked as if they didn't have the best start to the night and it looked as if the pair took a beating. Jimmy says that while they did, nothing can hurt him like being torn away from Jey. Jimmy says they will put an end to Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens at WrestleMania. Reigns then dismisses everyone except for Jey. Back from the break, Reigns tells Jey that it's been a minute since he's seen or heard from him. He says he had to beg Jimmy for answers, but now he's making decisions. Reigns tells Jey he has to be part of the Bloodline to make decisions, then asks him if he's still with the Bloodline and his family. Jey says he is, and Reigns says he hopes so. He says that was all he needed to hear, then tells Jey he'll see him later. Jey gets up to leave, but Reigns stops him and tells him that he loves him before Jey leaves without saying anything. Paul Heyman walks back in and asks Reigns if he found the answers he was looking for. Reigns says he did. We then head backstage to Byron Saxton and Adam Pearce. Saxton asks Pearce for some insight into the showcase matches at WrestleMania, but Chelsea Green interrupts. She says she can't find Carmella, but she found a new tag team partner, Piper Niven. She tells Pearce to talk to whoever is necessary to make the match official. Green then tells Pearce to make sure she is in one of the showcase matches at WrestleMania, and Pearce says he is still finalizing the teams. Green puts him on notice and tells him that she will take to social media and put him on blast. Back from the break, we head to a video hyping up the match between Brock Lesnar and Omos at WrestleMania. Back at ringside, Omos and MVP head down. Mustafa Ali already waits in the ring. Omos with MVP versus Mustafa Ali.
Not really.
The bell rings and Ali gives a smile to Omos. Omos shoves him, then plants him as we see Dolph Ziggler watching on. He then hits a double choke slam for the win. Winner: Omos.
Big squash.
After the match, MVP says Omos fears no man or beast, but Brock Lesnar will learn to do so at WrestleMania. We then head backstage and see Logan Paul and his entourage exit his dressing room and head to the ring. The Miz catches up to him and says his publicist has been trying to get in touch to see if he can be his guest on Impulsive TV, and offers to do so, but Paul brushes him off. Back from the break, Logan Paul heads to the ring. Seth Rollins crashes Impulsive TV. Paul welcomes the WWE Universe to Impulsive TV, then says he doesn't need to be in WWE. He says he's in the company because he loves it, but unfortunately fans don't love him except for his father and a kid with a drink prime sign. He says fans will never respect him, but he doesn't care because they're refusing to see the amount of talent standing in front of them. He says there is nothing he can't do and no one on the roster he can't compete with because he is just that good. He says for that reason, he didn't invite anyone to be his guest. He rags on St. Louis, then addresses Seth freakin' Rollins. He says their match will be great, as Rollins is one of the top 3 in the business. Paul says he was talking to his brother, who brought up a good point. Seth's are nice guys. He says he could have been friends with Rollins if he had come to him to talk, but now he wants to knock him out again. He throws it to a video of him doing so 2 weeks ago before his mic suddenly cuts out and he grabs a second one. Rollins then appears on the Titantron and says his audio and video aren't working and he doesn't know why. He laughs, then asks how they're going to save this terrible episode of Impulsive TV. He then hits the play button for his music and makes his way to the ring. Rollins wastes no time and takes down Paul. He rains down right hands as the two spill to the outside. Officials run down and pull the two men apart, but Paul breaks free and tackles Rollins over the announce desk. Rollins trips Paul on top of the desk, but officials once again separate the two men. Rollins ascends to the top and delivers a splash, leveling a few officials. Paul then clocks Rollins with a right hand and Rollins goes down. Back from the break, Dominic Mysterio and Damian Priest head down to the ring. Johnny Gargano and Dexter Lumis follows. Dominic Mysterio with Damian Priest versus Johnny Gargano with Dexter Lumis. The bell rings and the two lock up. Gargano delivers a shoulder tackle, then fires off several right hands in the corner. Gargano delivers a kick to Dominic's head, then delivers a Hurricane Rana that sends him to the outside and hits a Tope Suicida. Dominic tosses him into the ring steps, then sends him crashing into the barricade and gets him up on his shoulders before planting him once again on the barricade. Back from the break, Dominic delivers the Three Amigos. Gargano hits a suplex in the corner, then delivers a pair of back elbows and a spear. Dominic rolls up Gargano, but the referee catches him with his feet on the ropes. Gargano delivers a superkick to Dominic before the two go back and forth with right hands. Gargano delivers a clothesline, then sends Dominic crashing into the ring post shoulder first and follows it up with a superkick. Gargano sits Dominic on the top rope, but Dominic knocks Gargano off the top and delivers a frog splash for the win. Winner, Dominic Mysterio.
Which is a big
After
upset.
the match, Dominic grabs a mic and says he won't stop until he gets his match with Rey Mysterio at WrestleMania.
And SmackDown, we get that resolved.
He says the entire Mysterio family will be at SmackDown this Friday, then says it is the same family who blocked his number and kicked them out of their group chat. He adds that he will get Rey to say yes when he meets his mother face to face.
And it does happen.
We then head backstage to the Usos and Solo Sikoa. Paul Heyman walks in and asks them if they're waiting for Reigns. The trio say they are, and Heyman says the private jet is waiting for them so they can take the night off and indulge. They go to leave, but Heyman tells Sikoa that Reigns wants to speak to him. We then head to a message from Edge. He says he is a hostile man, and says he will savor every moment of his Hell in a Cell match with Finn Balor at WrestleMania. He tells Balor to bring his demon because the devil would like to meet him.
Finn Balor, okay, Tobo?
Back at ringside, Rhea Ripley heads down. We hear from Rhea Ripley. Ripley says Charlotte Flair told her on Friday that she needed to be a star, but the one thing she doesn't agree with is living in the past. She says Flair keeps doing that by bringing up their WrestleMania match 3 years ago, and Ripley says she participated in that match to earn respect. Ripley says she doesn't think Flair respects her because she doesn't respect herself, then says when you hear the name, Rhea Ripley, all of your insecurities come to the surface. She tells Flair every time they've gone to war, she has gotten up and kept going. She says Flair keeps people down, but not her. Ripley tells Flair she's done and tells her without the WWE, she is nothing. She says she doesn't care about Flair's insecurities or whether she respects her because she will become the champion at WrestleMania and become the biggest WWE superstar. She says she doesn't need Flair to respect her, but she will fear her. Damage CTRL's music hits and the trio head to the ring.
It's Control.
Bayley says she was waiting for her to mention her name because Damage Control respects her. She says anyone who puts Flair in her place has their respect, then says Ripley could have asked her for tips since she pinned Flair during her first WrestleMania. Ripley says she doesn't need their help, and Bayley says she thought she would say that. Bayley tells Ripley she has gotten too cocky, then says, Raw is Damage CTRL's show. Ripley laughs and says while she may not be ring ready, if one of them wants to try and get her out of her ring, then they can try. Bayley offers herself up, and Adam Pearce sends a referee to the ring. Rhea Ripley versus Bayley.
That doesn't make any sense.
The bell rings and the two lock up. Bayley shoves Ripley before Ripley does the same. She She then shoves Bayley into the corner and fires off several right hands, then whips her into the opposite corner. Bayley sends Ripley onto the apron, then sends her face bouncing off the top rope and hits a dropkick that sends her to the outside. She looks for a second kick, but Ripley catches it. Bayley then sends Ripley's face into the ring post, but Ripley tosses her onto the barricade and levels her with a senton off the apron. Ripley tosses Bayley back in the ring, then hits a snapmare and follows it up with a ripcord knee. Ripley delivers an elbow to Bayley's spine, but Bayley fires back with a series of chops. Ripley plants her face first, then delivers a pair of stomps and sets up for Riptide. IYO Sky distracts the referee while Dakota Kai saves Bayley. Bayley then rakes Ripley's eyes and rolls her up with her feet on the ropes as Kai holds them in place, but Ripley kicks out. Becky Lynch's music then hits and she heads to the ring with a bag of popcorn in hand, flanked by Lita and Trish Stratus. Back from the break, Bayley delivers a Bayley to belly. She follows it up with a second one before Ripley plants her. Bayley fires back with a running knee to Ripley's jaw, then looks for a sunset flip. Ripley blocks it, then knocks Bayley down with the double boots. She then locks in the prism lock, but Bayley grabs the bottom rope and breaks the hold. Kai and Sky pull Bayley out of the ring, but Lita and Stratus level them. Lynch then gets in Bayley's face and forces her back into the ring, allowing Ripley to deliver a headbutt and Riptide for the win. Winner: Rhea Ripley. We then head backstage and see Chad Gable searching for Otis. He stumbles across him getting pampered and says he knows he's been busy with his modeling stuff, then says he got them into the fatal 4-way tag team match at WrestleMania. He says he needs him at ringside when takes on Ricochet later tonight, but Maxine Dupree walks in and says she has a stellar opportunity for him, a hand modeling gig. Otis ultimately decides to join Gable, and the pair walk away. Back at ringside, Ricochet and Braun Strowman head down. Chad Gable and Otis follow. Ricochet with Braun Strowman versus Chad Gable with Otis. The bell rings and the two lock up. They go back and forth with submission holds before Ricochet delivers a kick to his face. The two men then end up on the top rope before Gable pushes Ricochet off and hits a flying clothesline. Back from the break, Gable looks for a moonsault off the top, but Ricochet ducks it and hits a dropkick. He follows it up with a lariat in the corner, then hits an uppercut and sends Gable into the top turnbuckle face first. He follows it up with a running shooting star press and goes for a pin, but Gable kicks out. Gable hits a cliffhanger DDT, but Gable cinches in an ankle lock. Ricochet escapes and hits a superkick, then follows it up with a running knee. Gable delivers a Northern Lights suplex before Maxine Dupree storms down to the ring and drags Otis backstage as Gable watches on. This allows Ricochet to deliver a standing sliced bread. He then climbs to the top and delivers a shooting star press for the win. Winner: Ricochet.
Great match.
Back at ringside, Bianca Belair heads down. Asuka, Carmella, and Piper Niven follow. Bianca Belair and Asuka versus Carmella and Piper Niven. Green and Belair begin the action. The bell rings and Green tries sending Belair into the mat. Belair moves out of the way and hits a moonsault off the ropes, but in the process, Asuka tags herself in. Green and Niven try taking advantage by attacking the pair as they argue with one another, but Belair and Asuka send them crashing to the outside and stare down one another. Back from the break, Green has Asuka in a chinlock. Green then whips her into the corner, but Asuka hits a codebreaker. Niven tags in and sets up for a body slam, but Niven delivers a back elbow. Belair tags in and delivers a dropkick before Green tries interfering. Belair levels her with a vertical suplex, then rains down right hands on Niven in the corner. She ascends to the middle rope and delivers a crossbody, then goes for a pin but Green breaks the fall. Asuka tosses her out of the ring before Belair gets Niven up on her shoulders and delivers the KOD for the win. Winners: Bianca Belair and Asuka. After the match, Asuka clocks Belair from behind and levels her with a spinning heel kick. She follows it up with a sliding knee. Back from the break, Roman Reigns, Solo Sikoa, and Paul Heyman heads to the ring. Cody Rhodes confronts Roman Reigns.
This was
Reigns
perfection.
tells Street Lewis to acknowledge him, but before he can continue, Cody Rhodes' music hits and he heads to the ring. Rhodes says normally would ask fans what they want to talk about, but this time he already knows, the Cody Rhodes problem.
Which is a good problem.
He asks them to define for him what that means, and Heyman goes to respond. Rhodes stops him and clarifies that he's talking to Reigns. Reigns says Rhodes isn't the problem, but what he represents is. He says Rhodes is what they used to be and is a professional wrestler. He says Rhodes didn't want to be Stardust, so he ran away. He says he started a promotion he couldn't get over in and ran away, then says he got over when he came back to WWE, but his body gave out. Reigns says Rhodes won't finish the story on April 2nd, then says his real moment will come on April 3rd when he looks in the mirror and has to confront the adversity again. He says he wants him to look in the mirror to be something Dusty Rhodes can be proud of rather than running away. Rhodes says what Reigns says is true, but says what he did was to ensure every locker room could make 100% money. He says he tried to be a superstar and always wanted to be one, but no one needs to bring up his father one more time. He says he will vomit, and the only thing Reigns will see at WrestleMania is him. Rhodes says his mother would tell him to knock Reigns out, and says Reigns needs to remember what it's like to lose. He says when he does lose the titles, the Usos and Solo Sikoa will leave him. He says Paul Heyman will then become an advocate, and Reigns will become a man without a family and a chief without a tribe. An angered Reigns leaves the ring along with Heyman, leaving Sikoa alone in the ring with Rhodes. Sikoa stares him down before Reigns calls him to join them. Sikoa is about to do so, but Rhodes tells Sikoa he knew he wasn't ready. Sikoa sets up for the Samoan spike, but Rhodes catches him with a boot. Sikoa looks to attack Rhodes, but Reigns talks him.
Well, it was another amazing Raw. Let's go to SmackDown. Are you ready, Tobar? Because it was amazing again. Oh, wait, no, not the SmackDown. Let's go to NXT. Yeah. See what happens when we don't have Danger Dan around? But yeah, let's go to NXT. Again, it was another great NXT. Building up for Stand and Deliver for WrestleMania weekend. But let's go. Are you ready, Tobar?
Next we have NXT. Still don't get why you humans don't enjoy watching NXT.
Me neither.
WWE NXT, on March 21st, 2023. 2 qualifying matches for the NXT Women's Championship ladder match at Stand and Deliver on April 1st are set for tonight, as Indy Hartwell squares off with Tiffany Stratton while Lyra Valkyria takes on Ivy Nile. The winners will join Gigi Dolan and Zoe Stark, who qualified last week after defeating Kiana James and Sol Ruka respectively. Skip ad.
We don't have it yet.
Chase U's Thea Hale was abducted by Ava a few weeks ago, and Andre Chase and Duke Hudson have made it their mission to seek retribution on her behalf. Meanwhile, Ava and her Schism teammates have vowed to expose Chase U's lack of unity, and the group has been successful thus far after beating Chase U in both singles and tag team competition over the last couple of weeks and leaving Hudson's real allegiance to question. The two factions look to put an end to their issues as they come face to face with one another tonight in a great debate. Ilya Dragunov and J.D. McDonough look to put their issues to rest once and for all when they go one-on-one. The two men have been looking to get their hands on one another, with their issues stemming from an eye injury McDonough suffered at the hands of Dragunov a few weeks ago. Their issues culminated last week in a battle of words, and it remains to be seen what chaos will ensue when they collide in the ring. The show kicks off with a video recapping what happened between Grayson Waller and Johnny Gargano last week. Vic Joseph and Booker T then greet audiences at home as Pretty Deadly heads to the ring. We hear from Pretty Deadly. Elton Prince introduces himself and Kid Wilson as the hosts of Stand and Deliver, before Wilson says their first act as hosts will be to erase the footage of their NXT Tag Team Championship loss to Gallus and being put through a table by Carmelo Hayes and Braun Breaker during their contract signing last week.
Just said that was the amazing part of
The
NXT
pair then
wrestling.
begin discussing their outfits for the upcoming premium live event, and say Hayes and Breaker's outfits last week sucked. Hayes' music hits, and he and Trick Williams head to the ring. Williams says Pretty Deadly interrupted both Breaker and Hayes, which is why they were put through the table, and says he and Hayes can talk their talk while Pretty Deadly walk their walk. Prince says if they're trying to get a match for tonight, then they're on. Williams agrees to their terms, then says he won't be Hayes' partner, but Breaker will be. Pretty Deadly blindsides Williams and Hayes with an attack, but Breaker runs down to the ring and tosses them out of the ring. He helps Hayes up and tells him he doesn't want anything happening to him between now and Stand and Deliver. Back from the break, we head backstage to Hayes and Williams. Hayes asks Williams why he made Breaker his partner tonight, and Williams explains he did it so Hayes could see how he moves in the ring to prepare for their Stand and Deliver match. Back at ringside, Tiffany Stratton heads down. Indy Hartwell follows. Indy Hartwell versus Tiffany Stratton. Winner qualifies for the NXT Women's Championship ladder match at Stand and Deliver. The bell rings and the two lock up. Hartwell delivers a shoulder tackle, then delivers a pair of clotheslines. Stratton fires back with a suplex and a couple of stomps, then delivers a right hand to Hartwell's spine and whips her into the corner. She delivers a back handspring elbow before the duo spill to the outside and Stratton sends Hartwell crashing into the ring apron face first. Back from the break, Stratton delivers a hip attack and a senton. Hartwell fires back with a cutter, and the two go back and forth with right hands. Hartwell gains the upper hand and delivers a boot to the side of Stratton's head, but Stratton manages to hit a scoop power slam. She heads out to the apron and looks for a cannonball, but Hartwell moves out of the way and delivers a spinebuster. Stratton then delivers her signature moonsault for the win. Winner, Tiffany Stratton. We then head to a video of the Creed brothers and Gallus playing a round of pool at the pub. Gallus eventually comes out on top, and wishes the Creeds better luck next time. Julius Creed says pool was never their game, but darts was. The two teams play a couple of rounds, and the Creeds win. Julius says he has an idea in mind for a tiebreaker, and Gallus says he thinks he knows that they're thinking a match for the NXT Tag Team Championship at Stand and Deliver. The four men look to leave the pub, but Tony D'Angelo and Channing, Stax, Lorenzo are waiting outside. They say they have Stand and Deliver business to discuss, and the six men go back into the pub to talk.
And whoever wins goes to the main
Back
roster.
from the break, we head backstage to Gigi Dolan and Mackenzie Mitchell. Mitchell asks for Dolan's thoughts on the lineup for the NXT Women's Ladder match at Stand and Deliver. Dolan says it's too early to tell, but she will do anything to win the title. Stratton tags in and brags about winning her match, then says Dolan and every other participant's chances in the match just became zero. Back at ringside, Wes Lee is standing by. Wes Lee's first Stand and Deliver opponent is revealed. Wes says both he and fans are enjoying his open challenges, but he keeps getting asked why he's holding them. Wes says it's because he doesn't want to be a hypocrite, then says he knew if he came up short at Halloween Havoc, he wouldn't get another shot. He says from the moment he won the North American Championship, he vowed to give chances to others in the same position the chance that he got. He then addresses the video from NXT Anonymous Twitter account last week and says Shawn Michaels gave him 4 opponents of his voice to face at Stand and Deliver. Dragon Lee's music hits and he heads to the ring in his NXT debut. Dragon tells Wes that it's nice to meet him, then says he came to NXT for the same reason he did. He tells Wes that he is the best, but he loves the chaos. He asks to be part of the North American title match on April 1st, and Wes says this is what he loves. He says he's been following Dragon's career, and has been wanting to face him. He then gives him the first spot. J.D. McDonough's music hits and he appears. He says the two of them are putting one another over, then invites Dragon to pull up a seat and watch him beat down Ilya Dragunov since he's new here. He asks Wes what his excuse is, and Wes tells McDonough that Dragunov is going to tear him apart. McDonough tells Wes to count himself lucky that he hasn't had his eyes on his title because he wouldn't be standing in the ring with her without it.
Maybe very true, but
Dragunov's music hits and he heads down. Back from the break, we see a video posted to the NXT Anonymous Twitter account of Indy Hartwell taking out her frustrations on a bunch of equipment. We then head backstage to Fallon Henley and Kiana James. Henley confronts James about what she found last week and yells at her for cheating on Brooks Jensen. She says while James might not care about him, she does. Henley then storms off. Ilya Dragunov versus J.D. McDonough.
well, how
The bell
about
rings and the pair waste no time. They go back and forth with right hands before Dragunov gains the upper hand. He sets up for a knee, but McDonough moves out of the way and delivers a tornado over the top. We see Dragon Lee watching on from ringside as McDonough delivers a suplex. The pair exchange forearms with one another before Dragunov delivers 3 German suplexes. He follows it up with a running knee and ascends to the top, but McDonough meets him there. Dragunov pushes him off before McDonough pulls him down. Back from the break, McDonough delivers a kick to Dragunov's spine. Dragunov looks for a kick, but McDonough moves out of the way and delivers another kick. Dragunov lands an enziguri, but McDonough lands a back elbow. Dragunov delivers a series of chops, then executes several rapid ones.
the chemistry between these two great?
He plants McDonough, but McDonough sends Dragunov crashing into the rope throat first. He then hits a powerbomb and 3 German suplexes, but Dragunov lands a roundhouse kick. He sets up for a move, but McDonough matches him and looks to lock in the twister. Dragunov escapes and rains down right and left hands, then delivers a running headbutt. The 2 men spill to the outside and topple onto Dragon Lee. McDonough tags a cheap shot at Dragon as Dragunov sets up for a headbutt. He accidentally hits Dragon, and Dragon fights back, causing the disqualification. Winner: NA double disqualification due to outside interference. After the match, the 3 men begin brawling before Wes Lee comes out of nowhere and goes flying to level anyone. Back from the break, we head backstage to Wes Lee and Mackenzie Mitchell. Lee announces that he has chosen J.D. McDonough and Ilya Dragunov his final spot before Axiom walks in and asks for the 5th spot. Lee then says he's had many opportunities before, so the 5th opponent will be determined next week in a battle royale. Johnny Gargano raises the stakes for Grayson Waller at Stand and Deliver. Back at ringside, Johnny Gargano's music hits but Javier Bernal appears instead of Gargano.
One of the funniest wrestlers that doesn't get
Bernal says when that music
fanfare.
hit, everyone thought it was Gargano but they were wrong like he was when he thought he was going to Stand and Deliver. He blames Gargano for losing his spot and says he has been working hard for the past 7 months. He asks how many Christmas albums Gargano has sold, and they are a Triple Crown champion between the 2 of them. Gargano's music hits for a second time, and this time, the man himself appears. He clocks Bernal with a right hand, then tosses him out of the ring. He chucks him into the barricade and the ring steps, then gets back inside the ring and grabs a mic. He says he knows Grayson Waller is listening, and says if he wants to make things personal and raise the stakes, then he'll do the same. He pulls out a contract, then reveals what it's for, an unsanctioned match. He signs the contract and says all Waller has to do is the same. Waller appears on the Titantron and asks Gargano if he wants to embarrass himself on the big stage again. He says he'll sign the contract next week as long as Gargano is banned from the building, and Gargano agrees to his terms. He hands the contract over to Vic Joseph and tells him to pass it on to Waller. Bernal is back on his feet and appears in the ring, and Gargano catches him with a superkick. We then head to a video hyping up the debut of Eddie Thorpe next week. Back at ringside, Ivy Nile heads down. Lyra Valkyria follows. Lyra Valkyria versus Ivy Nile. Winner qualifies for the NXT Women's Championship ladder match at Stand and Deliver. The bell rings and the 2 lock up. They go back and forth with submission holds before Nile lands a kick across Valkyria's chest. Valkyria fires back with one of her own, and the two level one another with kicks. We see Tatum Paxley watching on from backstage as Nile plants Valkyria. Valkyria hits an enziguri, then fires off a series of kicks. Nile delivers a suplex and a kick. She then locks in her signature submission hold, but Valkyria escapes and hits a German suplex, then follows it up with a roundhouse kick for the win. Winner: Lyra Valkyria. We see Fallon Henley walking around backstage. Isla Dawn and Alba Fire blindside her with an attack before Kiana James provides Henley with a helping hand. The great debate between Schism and Chase U. Blake Howard welcomes everyone to the great debate. He then welcomes the first two debaters, Rip Fowler and Duke Hudson. He asks them how their respective groups approach togetherness, and Fowler says Schism is built on togetherness. He says Hudson has presented him with the opportunity to remove his mask and be welcomed with open arms. Hudson says Ava welcomed him with open arms, then says Chase U gave him a sense of belonging and inclusion but without a lot of passion. Thea Hale and Ava are up next. Howard asks them how their group provides them with safety, and Ava says Schism's tree provides her with it. Hale starts rambling and says she's learned a lot and made connections. She says Schism only creates a false sense of safety. Andre Chase and Joe Gacy are the last ones to go. Howard asks how they rate their fellow members with leaving their nests. Chase looks to speak, but Gacy says his students have already proven that. He tells Howard to tally up the score, but Tyler Bate rises up from the crowd and asks Chase to step in. Chase allows it, and Jagger Reed steps up. Howard asks them how they would sum up the experience of their groups. Reed keeps it simple and says Schism is 4 roots, 1 tree. Bates says it takes a big, strong mind to prosper in the squared circle and is a collaborative effort. He says it has provided Hale and Hudson with chances, and says Schism will never achieve growth in NXT the way Chase U has. Bates says now that Chase U has beaten them philosophically, it's time they beat them in the ring. Andre Chase challenges Schism to an 8-person tag team match, but Gacy declines the offer, as they have already beaten them philosophically and in the ring. Hudson raises the stakes and says the winner of the match gains control of Chase U. Gacy then accepts the challenge with the amended terms. Back at ringside, Pretty Deadly heads down. Carmelo Hayes, Trick Williams, and Braun Breaker follow. Braun Breaker and Carmelo Hayes with Trick Williams versus Pretty Deadly. The bell rings and Pretty Deadly charge at Hayes and Breaker. Wilson pins Hayes, but Hayes kicks out before hitting a dropkick. Prince tags in and delivers an uppercut, then tags Wilson back in. Hayes delivers a shoulder tackle before Wilson hits a flapjack and tags in Prince. Pretty Deadly looks to double team on Hayes, but Breaker interjects. The two teams go at it, and Breaker and Hayes toss Wilson and Prince out of the ring. Wilson is wearing down Breaker. He shoves him into the corner before Hayes and Prince tag in. Hayes rocks Prince with a kick, then suplexes Wilson on top of Prince. Prince delivers a series of stomps in the corner, then tags in Wilson. Wilson and Prince deliver a leg drop splash combination. Wilson then delivers a second leg drop and a right hand, then plants Hayes and delivers a knee. Prince tags in and delivers a back elbow, but Hayes lands a few forearms. Breaker and Wilson tag in. Wilson gets planted with a German suplex, then delivers a shoulder tackle and a second German suplex. He hits a bulldog and goes for a pin, but Prince breaks the fall. Wilson looks to send Breaker into Hayes, but Breaker stops himself before the two collide. Hayes pushes Breaker out of the way and delivers a codebreaker to Wilson. Breaker then delivers a spear and tags Hayes back in. Hayes ascends to the top and delivers nothing but net for the win. Winners: Braun Breaker and Carmelo Hayes. After the match, Hayes hands Breaker the NXT Championship. Breaker raises it over his head, and the two stare one another down.
Wow, great details, Tober. So let's go into SmackDown. Like I made a mistake last time, but let's go to SmackDown. Are you ready, Tober? So you're taking this greatly. Hello, are you ready?
Ahead of his match with Roman Reigns for the undisputed WWE Universal Championship at WrestleMania 39, Cody Rhodes will be squaring off Ludwig Kaiser as a result of a heated confrontation between the pair on last week's The SmackDown Lowdown. Kaiser's last singles match was on the October 21st episode of SmackDown, during which he suffered a loss at the hands of Rey Mysterio while Rhodes hasn't competed on the blue brand since April 2016. Next. Stay. Speaking of Rey, he will be returning to televised action for the first time since losing to Karrion Kross on the February 24th episode of SmackDown, when he goes one-on-one with LA Knight. Rey threw out the challenge for the match after Knight made unwarranted comments regarding Rey's recent turmoil with Dominic Mysterio. Rey's night doesn't just end there, however, as he and Dominic are set to come face-to-face along with the rest of the Mysterio family as Dominic looks to get their blessing to face Rey in Los Angeles, California. Dominic has made it crystal clear that he wants the match to take place, but Rey has refused to cave thus far and has voiced on multiple occasions his refusal to fight his son. Before they clash on April 2nd for the Intercontinental Championship, current title holder Gunther and his challengers Sheamus and Drew McIntyre will be signing the contract for the bout tonight.
You know how those go out.
Cracks in the relationship between McIntyre and Sheamus have grown over the past few weeks, as the pair simultaneously pinned the aforementioned Knight and Xavier Woods to win a fatal 5-way number 1 contenders match 2 weeks ago before their match last week to determine Gunther's opponent ended in a no contest. We are live.
We're not live.
The show kicks off with a video recapping the events leading up to the reunion of Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn on last week's show, as well as what occurred afterwards on this past Monday's WWE Raw. Michael Cole and Wade Barrett greet audiences at home as Cody Rhodes makes his way to the ring. Ludwig Kaiser and Giovanni Vinci are already waiting inside. Cody Rhodes versus Ludwig Kaiser with Giovanni Vinci. The bell rings and the two lock up. Kaiser delivers a right hand to Rhodes' midsection, but Rhodes fires back with a delayed vertical suplex. Paul Heyman appears on the ramp to watch on as Rhodes delivers a running knee that sends Kaiser to the outside. Back from the break, Rhodes delivers a superplex to Kaiser. Kaiser then looks to send Rhodes' leg colliding with the ring post, but Rhodes prevents such from happening, then fires off right hands and tosses Kaiser back in the ring. Kaiser delivers a kick, then sends him crashing into the mat. He rains down right hands, then delivers a stomp to Rhodes' face and follows it up with an uppercut and a running knee. He then hits a right hand, but Rhodes fires back with some of his own. Kaiser responds with a stomp and whips Rhodes into the corner, then charges at him. Rhodes ducks out of the way and delivers a kick to his midsection, then sets up for Cross Rhodes. Solo Sikoa appears next to Heyman, allowing Kaiser to execute a chop block. Heyman and Sikoa inch their way closer to the ring as Kaiser sends Rhodes colliding with the ring steps. Back from another break, the two men level one another with clotheslines before Rhodes delivers a shoulder tackle and a scoop power slam. Kaiser fires back with a clothesline, but Rhodes manages to hit the Cody Cutter. He then follows it up with Cross Rhodes for the win. Winner, Cody Rhodes. After the match, Heyman grabs a mic and hops up on the apron alongside Sikoa. Heyman says Rhodes is owed an apology, then rags on Samantha Irwin for her performance as ring announcer.
He's so wrong about that.
He then redeclares Rhodes as the winner in a more extravagant manner, then says Rhodes' road to WrestleMania has a major pothole in it when he takes on Sikoa next Monday on Raw. He tells Rhodes that if he survives, then all roads lead to Roman Reigns, who will be on SmackDown next Friday to come face-to-face with Rhodes one more time before WrestleMania. Rhodes asks Heyman if he's moving the goalpost, then asks if he's expected to say no to the bloodline. He says he still managed to beat Seth freakin' Rollins with a torn pec, and says Reigns isn't ready for him before adding that Sikoa will find that out the hard way too. Back from the break, Charlotte Flair heads to the ring. We hear from Charlotte Flair. Flair points to the WrestleMania sign and says it's only 8 days away. She says she didn't become a 14-time champion based on fears or insecurities. She says fear is a lack of understanding and ignorance, then says the wrestling business was built on respect. She tells Rhea Ripley she respects her, then says she respects all the women in the division. She says while she has insecurities, she has managed to overcome them. She then says she loves her father and intends to continue his legacy, then adds that diamonds are forever and so is she. Back at ringside, Rey Mysterio heads down as we see his family cheering him on in the audience. LA Knight follows. Rey Mysterio vs. LA Knight. The bell rings and Knight charges at Rey. Rey ducks out of the way and delivers a dropkick and a double underhook suplex. He rains down right hands in the corner before Knight plants him face first. He then fires off several stomps and sends him crashing into the top turnbuckle, then delivers a right hand and follows it up with a neckbreaker. Rey hits a Hurricane Rana that sends Knight to the outside, then delivers a dropkick through the middle rope and follows it up with a splash under the bottom rope. He tosses him back in the ring, then delivers a shoulder to his midsection and ascends to the top. Dominic Mysterio's music hits and Rey becomes distracted, allowing Knight to execute a chop block. Dominic strolls down to the ring to watch on. Back from the break, Knight delivers a knee to Rey's midsection, then follows it up with a running knee. He delivers a knee to his spine, then lands a back suplex and a power slam. He looks for an elbow drop, but Rey rolls out of the way and delivers a bulldog, then ascends to the top and delivers a senton. He follows it up with a crossbody off the ropes and goes for a pin, but Knight kicks out. Knight gets Rey up on his shoulders, but Rey reverses it into a swinging DDT and dropkicks him into the ropes. He looks for the 619, but Knight catches him and looks for a move.
619, come on.
Rey counters with a Hurricane Rana that sends him into the ropes and looks for a 619, but Dominic trips him as he runs the ropes, allowing for Knight to roll him up for the win. Winner. LA Knight.
First win on the main roster.
Dominic Mysterio comes face to face with his family. After Knight defeats Rey, Dominic grabs a mic and asks him if he'll give him what he wants. He asks Rey if he'll run away or be a man, then shoves him. Rey tells him no once again and looks to head to the back, then asks Angie how it feels to be married to a pathetic loser and a coward. He approaches his family in the crowd and tells his mom she married a deadbeat because she watched Rey abandon him, which makes her a deadbeat mom. Aliyah gets in his face, and Dominic calls her stupid. Angie grabs the mic, but Dominic steals it back and tells her to shut up. Rey has had enough and knocks Dominic to the floor, then grabs a mic and says Dominic pushed him to do this. He says Dominic made him do what he just did, then tells him he doesn't disrespect his mother. Rey tells Dominic if he wants a match at WrestleMania, he's on. Back from the break, Shali and Lacey Evans head down.
Xia.
Shotzi and Natalia follow as we see Liv Morgan and Raquel Rodriguez watching on from ringside. Shotzi and Natalia versus Shali and Lacey Evans in a qualifier match for the WrestleMania Women's Showcase match.
Lacey Evans' 33rd
Evans
birthday.
and Shotzi begin the action. The bell rings and the two lock up. Lee tags in and delivers a chop, then hits a running knee and a suplex. She sends Shotzi into the middle turnbuckle, then tags Evans in. Evans sends Shotzi's head bouncing off the mat, but Shotzi fires back with an enziguri. Evans hits a back elbow, then tags in Lee. The two double team on Shotzi before Evans looks to hit Shotzi with a right hand. She accidentally hits Lee before Natalia tags in and she and Shotzi hit the heart attack. Natalia then locks in the sharpshooter for the win. Winners. Shotzi and Natalia. After the match, Morgan and Rodriguez stare down Shotzi and Natalia. Ronda Rousey's music hits, and she and Shayna Baszler head to the ring. Baszler says all the women in the ring want to get their hands on them, then makes fun of them being injured by her and Rousey time and time again, then says they should put an end to this tonight. Rousey stops Baszler and says they have given Las Vegas so much, but they've gotten nothing in return. Baszler then informs the four women that her and Rousey have been added to the WrestleMania Women's Showcase match. Back at ringside, Drew McIntyre heads down. The Brawling Brutes follow as Adam Pearce is already waiting in the ring. Gunther, Sheamus, and and Drew McIntyre signed the contract for their WrestleMania Intercontinental Championship match. Sheamus says he's been asked why he's so angry at McIntyre, then poses a hypothetical. He says imagine sharing a dream with someone only to have them go behind their back and steal it from you. He says imagine you let them sleep on your couch and then you get the chance to hurt them. McIntyre cuts him off and says Sheamus has been running his mouth on social media and it's embarrassing. He says they should be laughing about what happened, then says Sheamus has become too sensitive and is unable to separate personal from business. He says he knows he can beat Sheamus and Gunther, but Sheamus has been unable to defeat the Intercontinental Champion as history has proven. McIntyre and Sheamus look to brawl, but Pierce stops them from going at it and says he needs their signatures. Both men do as they're told before Gunther's music hits and he heads to the ring. Gunther stares down Pierce, then says he needs Pierce to justify his decision to make him defend his title against Sheamus and McIntyre. Pierce begs Gunther to sign the contract, and he does so, then asks Pierce if he's happy. He says he will do what he needs to defend his title as long as it's justified. He says he will beat McIntyre, Sheamus and even Butch and Ridge Holland. Butch pounces at Gunther and begins beating him down before Holland pulls him off. Gunther then gets in Pierce's face and tells him to give him a match with Butch right now. Gunther versus Butch.
It was a great match.
Back from the break, the bell has rung and Gunther delivers a big boot. He sends Butch crashing into the mat, but Butch catches him with a kick and a pair of right hands. Gunther delivers a double underhook suplex, then delivers a kick and a stomp. He follows it up with a chop and locks in a Boston Crab, then releases it and floats over into a crossface. He releases it and sends Butch crashing into the mat, but Butch manages to hit a pair of step-up enzuigiris. Gunther then sends Butch to the outside. Back from another break, Gunther looks for a right hand, but Butch snaps his fingers and delivers a step-up enziguri. He sends Gunther to the outside and looks for a moonsault, but Gunther sends him toppling over the announce desk. He then stares down McIntyre and Sheamus as Butch sets up to hit him from behind. Butch accidentally hits McIntyre before the pair get in the ring and Butch steps on Gunther's fingers. He hits an enziguri and sets up for a move, but McIntyre gets up on the apron and into his face. Sheamus pulls him off, and McIntyre hits him with a Glasgow kiss. Holland goes after McIntyre, but McIntyre sends him crashing into the ring post. Sheamus then attacks him. Back in the ring, Gunther hits Butch with the Last Symphony for the win. Winner, Gunther. After the match, Sheamus gets in the ring and stares Gunther down. McIntyre then hits him with a Claymore kick and stares down Sheamus. We head backstage to the Street Profits discussing their showcase match at WrestleMania. Braun Strowman and Ricochet walk in and say the Profits will fool around and find out. Strowman then tells the Profits that he and Ricochet want all the smoke. Back at ringside, Kevin Owens heads down. Kevin Owens hosts Sami Zayn on the Co Show. Owens welcomes fans to the Co Show, then introduces Sami Zayn. Zayn's music hits and he heads to the ring. Owens asks if he did everything like he wanted with the big entrance and introduction, and Zayn says he didn't want any of that. Owens says Zayn told him he wanted separate entrances and his own pop, and says he totally gets it. Owens takes a seat before Zayn asks if they can talk about WrestleMania. Owens says yes, and Zayn says he's been the one talking non-stop about taking down the bloodline and asks if he realizes what they're on the verge of, taking down the bloodline. He says this year's WrestleMania will be different.
I've been saying that
Kevin
a lot.
Owens says that's why he brought him out here. He says he got him something and reminds him of what he told him a couple of years ago. He unfolds it and reveals the Co-Mania shirt of the year.
Tailmania.
Zayn says it looks awesome, and Owens says that's actually the back. He says Zayn has been the MVP over the last 12 months and says this year's shirt is about the front.
We have been saying it too.
He tosses the shirt over to Zayn, and Zayn turns it over to reveal the front, WrestleZania. Zayn flips out and says he loves it, then puts the shirt on as Owens unzips his hoodie to reveal the same shirt. Zayn extends his arms and
Merchandising,
asks for a
people.
hug.
Merchandising.
Owens says Zayn only gets one hug a year, but Zayn insists and the pair embrace. The Usos then come in out of nowhere and attack Zayn and Owens. They deliver a double superkick to both men before hitting Zayn with 1D. Owens grabs a chair, and the Usos are forced to retreat.
SmackDown again was amazing. Since Triple H has taken over, it's been the best thing possible. Let's go to Dynamite, which was a pretty good Dynamite. Toba, are you ready? Hello? Are you ready? Okay, let's go.
Now we go to AEW Dynamite. Starts out with an attack in the parking lot. I guess it's not only NXT that has the most dangerous parking lot.
Haha, you think you're funny.
The show kickstarts with Matt and Nick Jackson being shown put into ambulances backstage with Adam Page going with them, but it is unclear what has happened to them. First match, trios match. Orange Cassidy and Kip Sabian kickstart things with Cassidy dropping his opponent with a dropkick after some back and forth wrestling, but that leads to the Butcher tagging in, and so does Sting. Butcher throws a couple of forearms at Sting, but the Icon just accepts them and then unloads some shots of his own until Butcher charges him into the corner and bites his head. However, he then misses with a Stinger splash and the veteran shows him how it's done. He looks for the Scorpion Deathlock, but Butcher's partners hit the ring and stop it, which leads to an all-out brawl. The heels come out on top and then drop Sting with a double suplex, but as Sabian looks to dive from the top rope, Sting channels his inner Cassidy with slow rolls to avoid it as Darby Allin tags in. Allin hits Sabian with Code Red immediately, which gets him a near fall, but Penelope Ford then provides a distraction which allows Sabian to turn things around. The heels isolate Allin, but as Sabian sends him into his corner, Allin dives and wipes out the men on the ring apron, and he tags in Cassidy, who drops Sabian with a tornado DDT. His slow kicks begin until Butcher just runs in and drops him, and that is followed by a great double team as they plan Cassidy down again. Sabian follows it up with a cannonball, but he brags for too long and that allows Sting to tag in, and he hits some of the slow kicks himself. Sting then lights up and starts dropping everyone in sight as Sabian gets set into the Scorpion Deathlock, but Butcher and Blade beat him down until Allin charges in and throws hands toward them. He drops them both with a double coffin from the middle rope, but he then eats a knee to the face from Sabian, who is then hit with a Stundog Millionaire himself as he then dives out at the Blade. Cassidy then does the same but dives into the Butcher, and inside the ring the Scorpion Death Drop is connected. Winners: Sting, Darby Allin, and Orange Cassidy. Post-match, Allin stares up at the Double or Nothing banner in the arena. A video package is then aired with all of the pillars discussing why they deserve a shot, while MJF is shown telling them they have to earn it. The Guns C versus
The champion.
Top Flight AEW World Tag Team Championship match. AEW. Brandon Cutler sends Excalibur a text accusing the Blackpool Combat Club of attacking the Young Bucks at the start of the show. Dante Martin starts out by throwing Austin Gunn across the ring with a huge springboard hip toss, and he then launches Colton Gunn across the ring too when he tags in. Top Flight then clotheslines the champions out of the ring to continue dominating. Austin turns it around by grabbing the hair of Dante, which pushes him to the ropes where Colton yanks him down onto the top rope. The champions continue to dominate with some frequent tags as Colton drops Dante with a clothesline, but he then misses with a splash into the corner. However, Austin blocks the tag only for Dante to dive over both men to make it happen. Darius charges in and attacks both men, suplexing Austin and hitting a standing splash fly to Colton, forcing him to kick out. Dante sees a blind tag attempt and he plants Austin onto the mat, but he kicks out. Dante then looks for a nose dive, but Colton grabs the boot until Darius wipes him out with a dive outside the ring. Dante nails the nose dive, but Colton scrambles back at the last second to break it up. Meanwhile, outside the ring, the Kingdom appear and start beating up Darius. This leads to Dante running into a shatter machine when he is distracted, so the champions retain. Winners and still AEW World Tag Team Champions, the Guns. FTR then make their way out as Colton labels them losers, but Austin says there's nothing they can offer for them to make them accept. They suggest never having another title shot again. Then they suggest they'll never team again in AEW, but both get blocked. Dax Harwood then says if they can't beat them for the titles then they'll quit AEW, and Austin then accepts, but rather than shaking hands the champions spit in FTR's faces. Stokely Hathaway vs. Hook no disqualification match. Jade Cargill is shown backstage being interviewed by Renee Paquette as she says Taya Valkyrie had the audacity to use her finisher, so Mark Sterling reveals they've got a cease and desist letter for her to stop using it. Layla Gray says she will personally hand it over on Friday. Before the match starts, Stokely Hathaway reveals he spoke to the doctor and he is not medically cleared to compete. He is also announcing that he is retiring from competing, and he hands Justin Roberts his doctor's note. Roberts reveals that it is just a receipt, and so it gets ripped, and the match begins as Hathaway sprints away into the crowd as Hook gives chase and the FTW champion gets him and launches Hathaway back over the barricade. Hathaway then tries to hit a running forearm but fans upon connection, and he's then sent across the floor with a suplex. Hook then pulls out a steel barricade, but Hathaway manages to use a fire extinguisher into the eyes of his opponent to create some distance. He tries to use a chair but Hook blocks in and then starts swinging himself to the back of Hathaway, following up with a suplex into the guardrail. Hook goes to win it but pulls out just before the 3 count and instead locks in Red Rum as the match is immediately stopped. Winner, Hook. Backstage, Matt Hardy is shown telling Ethan Page that he needs to avenge Stokely Hathaway with a match down the line. It's story time with Adam Cole. Bay. AEW. Adam Cole hypes the fact he is back wrestling in just 7 days, and right now he feels freaking great. He has never been more ready or prepared to get back into the ring and do what he loves, which is wrestle for AEW. He knows people want to know who his opponent will be. However, before he can continue talking, Daniel Garcia makes his way out and asks who is ready for story time with Daniel Garcia. He tells Cole that since he has been gone, Garcia has become a veteran and a locker room leader. He says because of that he must come out and welcome Cole back and put him in his place too. Garcia then lists off some of the people he has beaten during Cole's absence, and he claims he has been the lifeblood of the company, so why should he welcome Cole back? He has been proving that he is one of the best pro wrestle. He stops himself and calls himself one of the best sports entertainers. Garcia asks what makes Cole special, and he says they ring the bell, that's what. Cole says Garcia is really good and someday he will lead the charge, but his problem is the company that he keeps. Cole says he is still Adam Cole Bay. He's a multi-time world champion and has fought and beaten some of the best, and when he was sitting at home he was hoping and praying for a second chance, and it looks like he found it. Cole says if Garcia is crazy enough to challenge him next week, then he's on. But he reminds him it's not just his return match, it is a statement that one of the best wrestlers on the planet is back. He hopes Garcia knows what he's in for, because next week will be a great night for him and the fans, but for Garcia, not so much. Kenny Omega is shown backstage with Don Callis, and Omega admits he should have gone with the Young Bucks. Callis says them going to a hospital might have been the best thing, he's in a singles match and he's back. Callis then says the god of pro wrestling is back and it starts tonight. Jon Moxley vs. Stu Grayson. AEW. Stu Grayson immediately takes the fight to Jon Moxley, but the veteran gives as much as he gets with a few chops of his own. Grayson holds nothing back with a few knees to the midsection, but then gets caught with a suplex as Moxley then charges Grayson off the ring apron as he smashes into the barricade. Back inside the ring, Grayson nails a few forearms, but Moxley shrugs them off and drops him with just one. Grayson once again fires back and drops Moxley with a dropkick, following it up with more forearm strikes, but Moxley nails a lariat in the corner before flipping him in midair to land Grayson down. Moxley hits a piledriver, but Grayson manages to kick out some Moxley hammers down with several stomps to the face of the Dark Order star. Grayson then drops Moxley and fires down the elbow strikes himself before planting him down and then springboarding off the middle rope to crush Moxley. Outside the ring, The rest of Blackpool Combat Club argue with the Dark Order, so Grayson moonsaults to take them out, and then back inside the ring he lands a 450 splash, but Moxley kicks out. Grayson then looks for the Nightfall, but Moxley reverses it into the Bulldog choke, which he transitions into a front headlock with knee strikes, but Grayson gets out of the choke with a cannonball with Moxley on his back. He then hits a backflipping kick which takes Moxley down again, and the two men then end up on the top turnbuckle as Moxley hits an avalanche Death Rider for the win. Winner: Jon Moxley. Toni Storm vs. Sky Blue. AEW. Ricky Starks is shown backstage and says Juice Robinson can see him on AEW Rampage, and he issues an open challenge to him. The latest QTV is then shown as Harley says she has found a hot new prospect, Rey Fenix. She shows some footage from his match last week, which is all of Powerhouse Hobbs dominating. Aaron Solo then jokes that he hacked into the Wrestling Observer's Twitter. QT then says there will be another open challenge this weekend. When the bell rings, Toni Storm charges Sky Blue and immediately catches her off guard and starts attacking her, but Blue attempts to fight back with a flurry of forearm strikes. She drives Storm's face into her knee and follows it with a dropkick which sends Storm outside the ring. She then runs off the apron and hits a Hurricane Rana, and as they get back into the ring, Blue goes to the top turnbuckle but gets dropped with a big right hand. Storm follows that with a hip attack, and with the official distracted, Saraya and Ruby Soho attack her on the floor. Back inside the ring, Storm drops Blue with a big boot, but she kicks out immediately. Storm then drives Blue head first back to the mat, but Blue responds with a roundhouse kick and then a diving crossbody. Blue nails a rising knee strike and another enziguri to the head, and this forces Storm to kick out at the last second. However, that only angers Storm as she drops Blue and hits several punches, and then a DDT as Blue kicks out this time. Blue then hits the Code Blue, but Ruby Soho gets on the apron to distract the official, and she then almost wins it with a roll-up, but Storm kicks out and hits a dropkick. Storm connects with a hip attack and a German suplex, setting up the Storm Zero. Winner: Toni Storm. The Outcasts then tease spraying Blue, but Willow Nightingale and Riho make the save. Stu Grayson is then shown backstage getting a medical check, and that leads to Blackpool Combat Club jumping him. Kenny Omega vs.
The Dream Man.
El Hijo del Vikingo. AEW.
You don't have
As
to say
Kenny
each
Omega
time.
makes his way down to the ring, El Hijo del Vikingo dives out of the ring and wipes him out, following up with another Tope Suicida for good measure. He dives into the ring with a dropkick, but Omega turns things around with a more aggressive edge as he attacks Vikingo in the corner. Vikingo uses speed to avoid a charge in the corner and then nails several kicks before hitting an implosion Hurricane Rana. Vikingo then nails a knee strike through the ropes, sending Omega to the floor, and he follows that with a shooting star press from the apron to Omega on the floor. Back inside the ring, Omega connects with several big chops to get some momentum, and as things spill back to the floor, Omega launches his opponent into the barricade. Omega pulls out a table and sets it outside the ring, but back inside he hits a backbreaker. Omega then yanks on Vikingo's hair to add further damage, and he follows it with lefts and rights to show his aggression. The two then start trading chops on the ring apron, but Omega gets the best of it with a big boot and then a monkey flip. Vikingo responds with an enziguri, and he then nails a Dragon Rana from the apron to the floor. The two then head to the top turnbuckle as Omega's awesome bomb is reversed and he lands on his neck, while Vikingo follows it with the Phoenix Splash from outside the second rope back inside. Vikingo dives from the top rope but is caught with a powerbomb, and Omega then nails the V-trigger, but he can kick out. Omega nails another one and he then goes for the one-winged angel, but Vikingo fights out of it and then dives from the top turnbuckle into a reverse Hurricane Rana. Omega falls onto the table on the outside as Vikingo dives over the top rope with a 630 senton, crushing Omega through the table. The two men then exchange strikes until Vikingo hits a sunset flip bomb, almost proving to be enough to win it, yet Omega kicks out. Omega avoids the next 630 senton, and he follows it by hitting a V-trigger and then the one-winged angel. Winner: Kenny Omega.
Great match.
Tony Schiavone is then in the ring to interview Omega, but the Elite Star gets jumped by the Blackpool Combat Club from behind. The attack continues until an ambulance pulls in, being driven by Adam Page.
One of the slowest entrances.
He makes his way down to the ring, but the BCC back away. Don Callis then tries to pull Page, and he throws himself at the mat and pretends that Page attacked him, which leads to Omega wanting nothing to do with him.
One of the worst actings ever. We're going to do something different. We're going to go to ROH right away. ROH. Are you ready, Tobar? Are you? Hello? Okay.
We open the show backstage, where Lexi Nair interviews Raw World Television Champion Samoa Joe. Joe issues an open challenge for a title match tonight. 205.7K.
Wow, you're acting up. Let's go into, you don't have to mention everything.
Tony Nese with Josh Woods and Mark Sterling versus Mark Briscoe. Briscoe got the victory via pinfall after hitting Froggy Bow. Briscoe is shown celebrating the win with his family sitting ringside. AR, Fox, Blake Christian and Metallic versus Ari Daivari, Jeeves K and Slim J.
Or you call them jobbers.
Christian and Metallic got the win after Fox pinned Daivari with a 450 splash. The Raw World Six-Man Tag Team Champions Embassy stormed the ring after the match and beat down Fox, Christian, and Metallic. Lady Frost versus Sky Blue. Blue got the pinfall victory with the Skyfall.
Poor Lady Frost.
Russian Dralistico with Jose the Assistant versus Red Titus and Tracy Williams.
The Foundation.
Russian Dralistico got the win when Rush pinned Titus after giving him the horns. War of words between Castanali and Kingston. Row. Caprice Coleman is backstage for a sit-down interview with both Raw World Champion Claudio Castanali and Eddie Kingston. Castanali apologizes for saying Kingston has no honor, but maintains that Kingston is not worth of the Raw title.
ROH.
Kingston says the apology means nothing. He says the Castanali wouldn't do business the last time they met, so he'll have to force him. Kingston adds that Jon Moxley won't be around to save Castanali. Castanali says Kingston ran away when things got hard and it was time to put in the work. He says Kingston is not on his level and cannot beat him. Kingston tells Castanali to prove it, and Castanali agrees to give him a title shot. He says when Kingston loses, he'll blame everyone else and run away. Castanali calls Kingston the biggest waste of potential he's ever seen in his life.
He's not wrong.
Matt Taven with Mike Bennett and Maria Kanellis Bennett versus Darius Martin. Darius' brother and top flight tag team partner Dante is not in his corner for this match. Taven pinned Martin with the climax to get the win. The Kingdom was poised for a post-match attack, but Dante ran out to make the save. Big win for Billy Starks. Row. Tony Deppen versus Raw World Six-Man Tag Team Champion Brian Cage with Bishop Khan, Toa Leona and Prince Nana. Cage got the pinfall victory with the drill claw. The Embassy beat up on Deppen after the match until AR, Fox, Blake Christian, and Metallic run down to the ring armed with lead pipes and fight off the Embassy. Silas Young versus Shane Taylor with JD Griffey. These former Raw World TV champions are meeting one-on-one for the first time. Taylor got the pin with a package piledriver. Miranda Elise versus Billy Starks. Starks got the win via pinfall after hitting a tombstone piledriver. Riccoboni and Coleman played this up as an upset and a big win for Starks.
Because she's only 18 years old.
Aussie Open versus Christopher Daniels and Matt Seidel. Aussie Open got the win after pinning Daniels with the Coriolis.
Beautiful move.
We head into the arena and Cheeseburger makes his entrance to answer Samoa Joe's open challenge. Raw World Television Championship match. Cheeseburger versus Samoa Joe. Joe made quick work of Burger, pinning him with the Muscle Buster. Joe hits another Muscle Buster on Cheeseburger after the match. Joe heads outside the ring, tosses ring announcer Bobby Cruz to the floor and takes his chair. Finally, Mark Briscoe runs out and Joe flees.
Yeah, that was a great ROH. So far, that's, I think, the fourth one, so we're getting treats after treats. Let's go to Rampage. And I'll do that when you could have a little bit of a rest. We start out with the TNT Championship, Powerhouse Hobbs versus Penta El Zero Muerto. Powerhouse Hobbs gets the win. Again, Nefarious. I don't know why they have to cheat, but he's been cheating. That was a heck of a match because Penta always looks good because we need to see some gold on him. Then we have Ricky Starks and Juice Robinson coming out. They come out to blows, and leading to next week on Dynamite, they'll have a match. Then second match, we get Brody King versus Jake Hager, and with his hat, Brody King gets the win finally because he lost last week to Garcia. But then in the background, Anna Jay attacks Julia. So I'm thinking next week on Rampage we'll get Anna Jay versus Julia, which Julia should really get the push. Actually, Anna Jay also. Then match number 3, we get Leia Gray versus Taya Valkyrie. Taya Valkyrie gets the win. Then she attacks Mark Sterling. She showed her power, putting her in the her move. Then we get the main event of the night, Acclaimed versus the Kingdom. Acclaimed gets the win. Pretty straightforward, easy peasy. It is what it is. Rampage was not that bad. Usually it's been, tipping off. But let's go to Impact. We have Impact and Impact, the pay-per-view. So Toba, go with Impact.
We go to Impact. The day before Sacrifice we get a lot of action. The Design versus Time Machine. Impact Wrestling. Kushida and Big Khan kick things off with a lockup. Shelly comes in to help, but the two get double clotheslined. Diener tags in, takes Shelly down again. MCMG double dropkick Diener. Sabin gets taken down with strikes before Angels tags in. Sabin and Angels run around until Angels lands a dropkick. Time Splitters rush the Design to set up a distraction. Sabin hits a hesitation dropkick on Angels in the corner, cover. Shelly works Angels' left arm until Kushida comes back in. Kushida locks Angels up using both arms and legs. MCMG double kick Angels on the outside. Angels comes back with a neckbreaker on Sabin. Diener gets the tag and he punches away at Sabin's face. Sabin tries a roll-up before tagging Kushida, who returns with kicks and a crossbody. Shelly and Sabin double team Diener, which sets up Angels coming in and getting the same treatment. Khan gets knocked off the apron. Kushida does up top and dives out onto the Design. After the break, Kushida and Angels duke it out in the ring. Angels lands a half and half suplex and Diener lands a splash for a near fall. Khan lifts Kushida for Diener and Angels to hit a double doomsday device. Action breaks down with everyone hitting moves. Time Machine triple teams Angels with a series of kicks. Diener pushes Kushida off the top but eats a cutter from Sabin. Callahan slides in and eats kicks from MCMG to protect Diener. Sabin dives out onto the Design. Kushida applies hoverboard lock on Angels for the win. Winners. Time Machine. We see a vignette on the Coven and then a vignette for Champagne Singh, a Vegas-style, repackaged Raj Singh. Backstage, Eddie Edwards and Kenny King explain why they reunited, citing Jay Briscoe's passing leading them to realizing their family. Savannah Evans versus Deonna Purrazzo. Impact Wrestling. Purrazzo starts with forearm strikes, but Evans shoves her down twice and delivers a boot. Evans whips her across the ring, boots, and covers. Deonna chops, runs the ropes, and then hits a Hurricane Rana. Outside, Evans runs Deonna into the apron and then sends her into the ring post. After the break, Evans continues clubbing Deonna. Evans steps on Deonna's throat while using the ropes for leverage. Evans delivers a corner spear and then a butterfly suplex for a 2 count. Purrazzo gets trapped in a headlock but she works her way back up with elbows. Deonna attempts clotheslines can't get her down. Purrazzo reverses a slam and extends the arm before finally taking her down with clotheslines. Side Russian leg sweep connects before applying the Fujiwara armbar. Evans reaches the bottom rope. Evans hits a bridging suplex into a cover. Giselle and Jay get involved on the apron. Evans accidentally hits Jay, allowing Deonna to hit a crucifix bomb for the win. Winner. Deonna Purrazzo. Post-match, Shaw and Evans take turns beating Purrazzo down. Evans hit the full Nelson slam to make a statement before Shaw does a running knee to the face. Flashback moment of the week highlights a tag bout from Sacrifice 2010 where MCMG pinned Team 3D. Backstage, Rosemary and Jessica argue and Taya tries to intervene. Taya chases after Jessica, who comes across a casket. Jessica opens it and Taya slams it shut. Taya doesn't want Jessica to look at the light. A hand emerges out of the casket and pulls Taya inside to write her off.
Yeah, Impact is really
Bully
extreme.
Ray and Masha Slamovich versus Tommy Dreamer and Mickie James. Impact Wrestling. Bully and Dreamer start off by yelling. Mickie tags in and stares Bully down until he tags Masha. Bully yells at Mickie but she ducks Masha at first and then hits a Thez press and flapjack. Masha rounds a roundhouse kick and tags Bully. Mickie dodges an elbow drop and tags out. Dreamer hits a crossbody but Bully drops him and tags Masha, slamming her onto Dreamer. Dreamer elbows Masha to set up Mickey's tag in. Bully pulls Mickie down by her hair. Masha tags out. Bully knocks Dreamer down and grabs a kendo stick. Bully tosses it but grabs Mickie by the face before body slamming her. Masha back in with a kick to the gut. Masha stomps and pulls her hair until Mickie elbows her way up. Mickie lands a neckbreaker and they both make tags. Dreamer with a clothesline and then corner punches. Dreamer hits a cutter, Masha breaks it. Seated senton from Mickie. Dreamer and Mickie hit double elbows for Dusty. Mickie goes up top for the Devon spot on Bully. Bully manages to drop Dreamer with a piledriver for the 3 count. Winners: Bully Ray and Masha Slamovich. Masha grabs Mickie to send her through a table, but Jordine Grace comes out to break it up. Jordine ends up accidentally spearing Mickie. Bully and Masha retreat as Dreamer checks on the champ. Backstage, Swan ponders with Kazarian if there's merit to Maclin's comments about how Josh feels about them. Frankie encourages Swan to talk to Josh. Swan enters Josh's locker room only to find Maclin going through Josh's stuff. Commentators run down tomorrow's Sacrifice lineup and announce next week's Impact will be live ahead of Multiverse United. Joe Hendry and Dirty Dango versus Moose and Brian Myers. Impact Wrestling.
You don't have to say that each
Hendry
time.
and Dango cuts promos before the match. Myers starts but immediately hides in the corner when Hendry approaches. Myers applies a headlock but gets run over with shoulder blocks. Dango tags in and covers. Moose gets the tag, which prompts Dango to dance a little. Dango hits chest chops and then punches to the head. Moose reverses it and does corner spears before tagging out. Dango lands a suplex and then a tornado DDT. Hendry and Dango double clothesline Moose. After the break, Dango and Myers take turns with offense until Myers gets him down for a headlock. Dango tries to roll him up but Moose breaks it up as the legal man. Moose suplexes Dango and knocks Hendry down. Myers with knee drops on Dango. Moose returns to apply more holds to keep Dango grounded. Hendry finally gets the tag and takes Myers down with a flurry of offense, including a cutter. Moose tosses Dango out and then spears Hendry. Myers hits roster cut on Hendry for the win. Winners: Brian Myers and Moose. Alexander walks into his locker room to find Swan, who informs him Maclin was going through his stuff. Josh is confused by everything. Josh Alexander addresses Steve Maclin. Impact Wrestling.
You have to say each
Josh
time.
enters the ring with a mic. He highlights Maclin's 2-year journey to get to the spot of being #1 contender. Josh says he's not ducking Maclin, he's always been in the ring answering challenges. Maclin comes out and says he is afraid of failure. He's afraid of losing to Josh and going right back to the bottom. Maclin shows footage of how he's been watching Josh's defenses for months from behind the curtain. Maclin reiterates that he's obsessed with winning the world title. Josh admits he may have underestimated him, but that changes nothing about him being a fighting champ. Josh says why wait for Rebellion? Maclin declines, knowing that Kushida will challenge Josh first at Multiverse United in a week.
Well, Sadly, that will never happen because, as we find out, Josh Alexander has to relinquish his world title for a torn pec. Let's go to Impact Sacrifice. The pay-per-view that was last night, it was pretty good. Again, Impact, I don't know why people are not watching Impact. You ready? Okay, go for it.
Lince Dorado will make his Impact debut when he challenges Trey Miguel for the X Division Championship. Another singles title match will see Brian Myers challenge Joe Hendry for the Digital Media Championship. Meanwhile, Ace Austin and Chris Bay will defend the Impact Tag Team titles against TMDK. Rounding out the card is Jonathan Gresham versus Mike Bailey in a rematch from No Surrender, plus Kenny King versus PCO. Countdown. Eddie Edwards death. Buckander Gujar. Countdown. Rosemary death. Kylan King. Remember to refresh the page throughout the night for the latest results.
Come on, you computer.
Mike Bailey versus Jonathan Gresham. Impact Wrestling. They start off quickly, running around each other and trading offense. They roll to the outside locked up and then split on the floor. Gresham is leaning heel and picks Bailey apart while remaining cocky. Bailey is able to get back to his feet and tries a headlock but gets his left arm twisted. Gresham tries stretching Bailey's foot, but he reaches the bottom rope to break it. Gresham couldn't untangle it at first and Bailey gets frustrated. Bailey unloads with kicks and then boots Gresham out of the ring. Bailey moonsaults out onto him. Back inside, Bailey chops Gresham and then gets tripped to the mat. Gresham slams Bailey's left leg into the mat several times to show his aggression. Gresham continues working the left ankle until Bailey kicked his way free. Gresham floats back into an ankle lock. Bailey breaks free and lands a shooting star press for a near fall. Bailey delivers more kicks until Gresham wipes out the left leg again. The crowd chants, "This is awesome," as they rise to their feet. Bailey kicks Gresham's legs, but Gresham counters with a figure four. Bailey tries to keep his shoulders up before rolling to the bottom rope. Out on the apron, Gresham drives Bailey's left knee into the apron. Back inside they trade kicks before Bailey does the tornado kick. Gresham dodges Ultimo weapon. Bailey locks Gresham in a leg lock and Gresham quickly taps. Winner,
What a great
Mike
match.
Bailey. Gia Miller interviews Brian Myers backstage. Moose walks up and says he's going to help Myers beat Hendry tonight. Santino walks up and declares Moose if forbidden from ringside.
So don't talk.
Digital Media title. Joe Hendry C versus Brian Myers. Hendry cuts a promo before the match regarding Myers and Moose. Hendry hip tosses Myers a couple times to start. Myers rolls out to recover. Hendry chases after and body slams Myers on the floor. Back inside, Myers flatlines Hendry and applies a headlock. Myers attempts covers before digging his knee into Hendry's back. Hendry gets back to his feet and clotheslines Myers before doing a follow-away slam. Hendry hits a cutter off the ropes for a 2 count. Myers comes back with an implant DDT for a cover. Myers connects with a spear for another near fall. Hendry catches Myers with a cutter and then hits standing ovation for the 3. Winner, Joe Hendry C.
Champion.
Mickie James announcement. Mickie James sits down with Santino and Gia Miller backstage. Mickie said she is not cleared to compete tonight or at Multiverse United. Mickie says she hopes she can compete at Rebellion. However, Jordynne Grace will face the winner of the Multiverse United match at Rebellion for the title. If Mickie is cleared by then, the match will be a 3-way with Mickie defending. Giselle Shaw versus Deonna Purrazzo. Impact
You
Wrestling.
don't have to say that each time.
Purrazzo takes it to Shaw right away with punches. They spill to the outside where Evans clotheslines Purrazzo while the ref was checking on Shaw. Back inside, Shaw hits a series of running uppercuts, cover. Shaw keeps Purrazzo grounded briefly before getting hit with a neckbreaker. They get back to their feet for more punches and clotheslines from Deonna. Russian leg sweep follows. Shaw locks in the wrist as they trade more blows. Purrazzo does elbow strikes to the head and applies Venus de Milo for the win. Winner, Diana Purrazzo. After, Evans attacks Diana in the ring and unloads with punches. Evans goes to slam Purrazzo and out comes Tasha Steelz.
She's back.
She comes face to face with Evans and they agree to attack Diana. When Evans turns her back, Steelz strikes. Steelz DDTs Jay Vidal and lands a cutter on him before tossing him out. Kenny King versus PCO.
PCO.
Impact
Whoa.
Wrestling. King attacks PCO before the bell rings. PCO takes King down and stomps on his gut. King gets PCO out of the ring where Eddie teases attacking. Back inside, King punches away. PCO appears to short circuit and runs out of the ring only to land on no one. PCO then dives out on another side and wipes King out. PCO clotheslines King inside. PCO does a leg drop onto the back of King's head. King fires back on outside the ring where he drops PCO on the floor a couple times with the mat exposed. King covers PCO back inside, but he kicks out. King hits a snap suplex, kick out again. King hits a frog splash, kick out. PCO punches King through a chair and covers for the win. Winner, PCO. Maclin talks to Kazarian and Swan backstage. We see a video package advertising Jody Thread is coming to Impact.
No one cares.
X Division title. Trey Miguel C. versus Lince Dorado.
Impact
Wrestling.
Yeah.
Miguel refuses to shake Dorado's hand, but Dorado does an arm drag and drop kick. Miguel does a Hurricane Rana out on the floor. Back in, Miguel does a drop kick before holding Dorado in the ropes. Miguel rakes the eyes and applies a left leg lock. Dorado clotheslines Trey on the apron and low drop kicks him out of the ring. Dorado leaps off the top to level the champ. In the ring, Dorado delivers chest chops and a power slam for a cover. Dorado hits a series of moonsaults until Trey rolls away and hits an enziguri to capitalize. Miguel rolls through after an attempted flip and then hits a series of kicks for a cover. Dorado follows Trey up top for a Hurricane Rana. Dorado hits the Lucha Lit shooting star, but Trey evades the ring. Trey tries a roll-up and then kicks Dorado on the turnbuckle before hitting a sunset powerbomb. Trey flips Dorado into a cover and scores the 3. Winner, Trey Miguel C.
Champion.
Tag titles, Bullet Club C
Champion.
versus TMDK, Impact Wrestling. Haste and Ace start things off. Bay and Ace double team Haste after Tito gets knocked off the apron. Bay attempts a cover. Haste manages to tag Tito, who hits Ace with a standing blue thunderbomb cover. Tito holds his foot on Ace's groin in the ropes. Haste returns but Ace punches his way out for a moment only to be hit with a suplex. Haste keeps Ace grounded with a wrist lock. Ace gets to his feet and kicks Haste to get Bay tagged in. Bay wipes out Tito on the apron and then dives onto him. Bay lands the finisher on Haste for a 2 count. Tags made. Tito catches Ace with an enziguri and gut-wrench powerbomb. Tito dives out onto Bay for payback. Haste plants Ace as Tito hits a frog splash only for Bay to break the cover. Bay drops Tito with a slam, Ace covers, and Haste breaks it. Bay and Ace double knee strike Haste on the apron before double kicking Tito in the ring. Ace and Bay hit their combo and Ace covers for the win. Winners, Bullet Club C.
Champion.
Busted open match, Tommy Dreamer versus Bully Ray.
Impact
Wrestling.
Uh-huh.
Bully ambushes Dreamer with a chair shot. They scrap at ringside until Dreamer tosses Bully and a chair into the ring. Dreamer has an ECW title in hand as the ref calls for the bell to officially start the match. They do dueling chair shots until Bully is struck. Dreamer runs the ECW belt into Bully's head outside. Dreamer's mists Bully with a drink and then uses the soda can against the skull. Bully drops Dreamer on the barricade crotch first. Bully takes a drink and tosses it in the face of a hockey player in the front row.
Yeah, that's smart.
Bully finds a step ladder under the ring and uses it against Dreamer's head. Bully makes the ref hold the step ladder while he gets on it and goes for a splash, but Dreamer moves and hits a DDT. Dreamer spreads tacks over the mat. Bully flips Dreamer over his shoulder and then retrieves a cheese grater. Dreamer manages to grab it and ambushes Bully but flattens the ref. Dreamer hits Bully, who rolls out. Bully is bleeding as the ref is down. The Good Hands run down and try to attack Dreamer. Hotch wipes Bully's face off as Dreamer cutters Skyler. Dreamer grabs Bully back into the ring, but Bully throws tacks in Dreamer's eyes. Bully then shoves Dreamer's face into the tacks on the mat. Both are bleeding and the ref is still down. Dreamer grabs a cheese grater and tries to use it as Bully resists. Dreamer presses but Bully convinces him to stop. Bully low blows him and then throws more tacks into Dreamer's arm. Dreamer is shoved into the ring post outside. Good Hands roll Dreamer into the ring as the ref gets up and sees Dreamer is bleeding. Winner, Bully Ray. After, Good Hands set up a table until Yuya runs down to make the save. The numbers game catches up. The hockey player tries to enter the ring but security stops him. Bully tells them to let him go. The Red Wings hockey player and Bully duke it out until Good Hands beat him down. McCarty is sent through a table by all three men. Scott D'Amore walks out and takes his jacket off. Then out walks Heath, Rhino, Hendry, Gresham, and Bailey, and they all chase Bully and Good Hands off. Hotch sneaks up and tries to attack D'Amore only to get hit with a Canadian destroyer from the VP.
Which would look pretty good.
Maclin, Swan and Kazarian versus Time Machine. Impact Wrestling. Swan and Shelley start the bout with a lock-up. Shelley takes Swan down and flexes. Swan fist bumps him before they tag out to Kaz and Sabin, who go back and forth with attempted headlocks. Kaz arm drags out of it but then gets arm dragged himself. Kushida and Maclin meet as Kushida takes him down into a headlock. They run around each other until Maclin cuts him off with a back elbow. Shelley gets the tag as Time Splitters double team for a moment. Shelley works Maclin's left arm. Swan gets the tag and he delivers kicks to Shelley to control the pace. Time Splitters double hold Swan, which frustrates Maclin and Kaz to the point Sabin kicks Swan while the ref is distracted. Maclin and Kushida come face to face but Maclin turns his back as Time Machine all beat down Swan. Shelley picks Swan's right hand apart. Kaz comes in and backstabs Kushida before wiping out Shelley's legs. Kaz manhandles all of Time Machine one by one with slams and leg drops. Sabin returns the favor and holds his own against the three opponents. Sabin does a dropkick flatliner combo with Shelley to pin Kaz. Swan returns to clothesline Sabin. Shelley works Maclin's left arm and tags Kushida, who hits a senton and crossbody. Maclin comes back with caught in the crosshair spear. Kaz and Swan both hit Kushida with cutters. Swan 450 on Kushida, near fall. Time Machine takes all three men down with different submissions. Maclin breaks free and punches all three from Time Machine. They turn it around with triple team offense before triple kicking Swan. Maclin tags in and goes up top with Kushida but gets his elbow hyperextended. Sliced bread from Shelley to Swan. Maclin double clotheslines MCMG. Kushida applies hoverboard lock on Maclin for the win. Winners, Time Machine. Time Machine celebrates as Maclin watches from the ramp in disappointment.
Which leads to, like as I mentioned, Josh Alexander has to relinquish his belt. So for the multiverse, it's going to be Kushida versus Maclin. Whoever wins is the new champion. Let's go to New Japan, and I'll do that because I guess Tober wants a good laugh. We're going to go through the quarterfinals and the semifinals of the Cup and the finals. This is day one. We have Luby and Owie versus Fujita and Zack Sabre Jr. of DMDK. With the O'Connor Bridge, Fujita and Zack Sabre Jr. get the win. The second match, we got Honma and Yoshihashi versus United Empire with Hanara and Fletcher. And United Empire gets the win with Street Rage. Match 3, we got Narita El Desperado and Suzuki versus Bullet Club, El Fantasma, Owens, and Kenta. Suzuki, El Desperado, and Narada get the win by DQ. Match 4, we get United Empire versus Togo, Takahashi, and Evil. United Empire gets the win, and that's with Khan, Cobb, and Davis. Match 5, we have Lio Rush, Yano, and Ishii versus Takahashi, Tagari, Naito, and Bushi. Drusha's team gets the win with the vertical drop. For the quarterfinal match, we got Umo versus David Finley. David Finley gets the win with the Trash Panda. Then our next match is Goto versus Tamatanga, and Tamatanga gets the win with the Gun Stun. So day 2, actually it's day 6 or 7, but to make it easier for the audience. We got Luby and Umo versus DMDK, Fujita and Zack Sabre Jr. Ubi and Luby get the win with the STF. Then we got Awana, Yano, and Ishii versus Bullet Club. The Bullet Club consisted of Kenta, Owens, and El Fantasma, and Bullet Club gets it with an inside cradle. Then match number 3, we got Takahashi, Narita, and El Desperado and Suzuki versus Dick Tago, Sho, Takahashi, and Evil. And Evil's team gets the win. Match number 4, we get Honomo, Yoshihan versus United Empire, Cobb and Fletcher. And with the Tour of the Islands, United Empire gets the win. Match number 5, we get Bushi and Tagi versus United Empire, Hanara and Great Khan. Harana and Great Khan with Ultimo gets the win. Then match number 6, we get Lio Rush and Yo versus Takahashi and Naito. Takahashi and Naito with El Destino with the win. Then with the semifinals, we get Tonga versus David Finley. David Finley with the Trash Panda gets the win. Then match number 8, we get SANADA versus Mark Davis. SANADA with the modified DDT gets the win. So the finals we have Finley versus SANADA. Day 3 or day 7, whichever one's easier. If you watch the show, you know exactly what day it is. Then the first match, this is for the finals of the Cup. So first match is Nakashima and Tanahashi versus Dookie and Tachi from just 5 guys now. And with the dangerous backdrop, Dookie and Tanahashi get the win. Match number 2, we get Oiwa and Uma versus Fujita and Zack Sabre Jr. And with the use of the Death Rider, Oiwa and Unuma get the win. Match number 3, we get Honoma, Ishii, and Tamatanga versus Bullet Club, the members of El Fantasma, Owens, and Kenta. And using the CRN, the Bullet Club gets the win. Match number 4, we get Tagachi, Yano, Narada, and El Desperado versus Togo, Sho, and Takahashi and Evil. And using Big Juice, Togo, Sho, and Tanahashi and Evil get the win. Match number 5, we got Tagi and Naito versus United Empire, consisting of Hanara and Great Khan. Tagari and Naito get the win with the rolling clutch hold. Match number 6, we get Yashihashi, Goto, and Okada versus United Empire, Cobb, and Aussie Open. And using Cornelius, which is one of the most beautiful moves from Aussie Open, United Empire gets the win. Now for the IWGP Junior Heavyweight Championship, we get Lio Rush versus Takahashi, which is Takahashi's second title defense. Using the time bomb, Takahashi gets the win. Then we get a new member of the Mighty Don't Kneel, Robbie Eagles, and they call him the Sniper. So moving on, he's going to have a shot against Takahashi next. Match number 8, which is the Cup Finals, which was a awesome match. We got SANADA versus David Finley. SANADA with a new look, changed everything like came in. SANADA with a modified DDT beats David Finley, so he's the number 1 contender for the New Japan World Championship, which Okada comes in, and leading up to the next match, it's going to be SANADA versus Okada. That was a very busy week of wrestling, probably one of our longest shows. As we mentioned, you could go to the end. Hello, yep. Wow. Danger Dane's on here, nothing works out right. As mentioned, Impact, Josh Alexander relinquishes his title, which is really sad because he was on a great roll. Mickie James is not official, but if she's not cleared, the title will be relinquished. One of the big things for the Hall of Fame for WWE, Andy Kaufman is named to the Hall of Fame. And a lot of people say, who's this? But if you don't know anything about comedy or anything about wrestling history, then you don't know anything. Andy Kaufman in the slap with Jerry the King Lawler is still on the top 50 moments of TV history. So he's all deserving. And I'm sure Jerry the King Lawler will induct him. Let's go with quick predictions for ROH, the pay-per-view that's coming up right before WrestleMania. Reach for the Skies tag team match. It's going to be Top Flight, which is Lucha Brothers versus Aussie Open versus the Kingdom versus LFI. I'm going to predict Aussie Open. They're such a good team. I think they deserve it more than anyone else. Then we get the TV Championship, Mark Briscoe versus Samoa Joe. Mark Briscoe, just for the inspiration and all that, he should get the win. Then Athena versus Sakazaki. I think Athena will retain. Wheeler Yuta versus Shibata for the Pure Championship. I think Yuta retains. Then we get Vikingo versus Commander for the AAA Super title. I think Viking retains. Then we get the World Heavyweight Championship match, Claudio versus Eddie Kingston. I think Eddie Kingston gets his first World Championship. Also, we'll go through the predictions because next week we'll have the predictions for Stand and Deliver. Chisholm versus Chase U. I think Chisholm wins. They get control of Chase U. For the women's title match, Valkyrie, Gigi, Tiffany Stratton, Zoe Starks, and I think Indy Hartwell will be named the last one. And I think Roxanne Perez comes back and actually makes it a title defense, and she retains. For the North American Championship, the Czar, the Irish Ace, Dragon Lee, Wesley. I think the final member they're going to put is Axiom. I think he'll win the Battle Royal. And I think Dragon Lee gets his title for his first match. He'll be the new North American champion. Then the Women's Tag Team Champion, Alba and Dawn versus the Tag Champs. I think we get new female Women's Tag Team Champions with Alba and Dawn. Then the unsanctioned match, Gargano versus Grayson Waller. I think Gargano gets the win because he's probably going to get really violent. And come on, we want him. He got attacked first, right? Then the NXT Tag Team Championships, D'Angelo and Stax versus Gallus versus the Creed Brothers. I think D'Angelo and Stax get the titles. Gallus goes to the main roster. And for the final world title match, Braun Breaker versus Carmelo Hayes. This is long overdue. I think Carmelo Hayes gets the championship. And I think Braun will get moved to the main roster. As for the matches of the week, Wrestler of the Week and Indie of the Week, match of the week, I have Omega versus Vikingo. That match, 5 out of 5. It's amazing. If you didn't see it, go to YouTube, watch it. It was spectacular. Vikingo, some of the moves he does, that 350 splash, 650 splash, or 630 splash, just amazing. I also have Ricochet versus Gable. One of the most technically sound matches. Again, Gable gets short-handed. Both wrestlers deserve a great push. Hopefully after WrestleMania, they get a great push. For Wrestlers of the Week, I have Omega. That match was just spectacular. I don't know how other word to describe that. Also, SANADA winning the New Japan Open Cup. Again, I know we don't usually do the pay-per-view stuff, but that match was just amazing. And SANADA versus Okada is going to be a big deal. And my indie wrestler of the week, it's going to be Tim Bosley. If you know Memphis Wrestling, this guy is an amateur wrestler turned pro wrestler. He has all the tools. I'm surprised the big WWE, Impact, or AEW hasn't been calling this guy. He's young. He has the look. He's a bigger form of Kurt Angle. I'm not saying the same level, but could be. Well, that's another episode of Everything That's Everything Wrestling. It was a packed wrestling match, a weekend wrestling. Apologize that Danger Dan's not here again. Can't control the weather. If I could, boy, the millions and billions of dollars I get. And with the billions, we could probably have a better system than Tobar. Yeah. Well, that's another week of Everything That's Everything Wrestling. Outstanding.
Thanks for tuning in to Channel 14, Kenosha Community Television. Remember to tune into my program, Just Talkin', shown right here, Tuesday and Wednesday nights at 8:30 p.m. until 9 p.m. on Channel 14. On the program, we cover community events, talk to nonprofit organizations, and who knows, we may bump into a celebrity now and then. So remember to tune in to Just Talkin' Tuesday and Wednesday nights at 8:30 p.m. right here on Channel 14.
You are watching Kenosha Community Media. We provide you with education, media, and entertainment, while you provide us with the means to teach, entertain, and communicate. Thank you for allowing us to grow. See what's next for Kenosha Community Media.
Hey kids! Do you guys like cartoons?
I love cartoons!
Do you like to see the old classic cartoons that your families were raised with?
I would love to, but where can I watch those at?
Well, we're bringing back classical cartoons with Mr. Bunker's Cartoon Apocalypse, where we resurrect old cartoons.
Oh, when is it on?
On Saturday mornings at 10 a.m. and Sunday mornings at 10:30, where you get to see classic cartoons like Betty Boop.
I love Betty Boop.
Popeye.
Big Popeye fan.
We have great Huckle and Jekyll.
Oh, I love those.
So Kenosha Community Media is bringing back the classical cartoons with Mr. Bunker's Cartoon Apocalypse.
Question, does Mr. Bonkers have any friends on that show?
He has a lot of friends. We're hosting, we're Chalk and Manimal, but he has great friends like Chef Luigi.
Look over the start, the kids.
He has Peanut the Peacock.
Hello, kids.
He has Cinnamon the Ape.
What's going on, brothers?
And his friend that also hosts a different show, it's Klutz the Clown.
Hey, kids, it's tough being a clown.
So if you enjoy cartoons, if you want to watch something that's whimsical and nostalgic, please tune into Mr. Bonker's Cartoon Apocalypse, Saturdays and Sundays, Saturdays at 10, Sundays at 10:30. And we would enjoy to join us because you could be our circus freaks. Bye, kids.
Goodbye, kids.